Triangulating Truth, a Framework for Finding Meaning in a Noisy World. Section 1, Introduction, The Problem of Noise. We live in an era defined not by scarcity of information, but by its overwhelming excess. Every second, something demands your attention. A headline, a notification, a trend. The result? A psychological fog. Even the most thoughtful people often feel unmoored, drifting between impulses unsure what truly matters or where to go next. We call this a crisis of attention, but it's deeper than that. It's a crisis of meaning. What's missing isn't more data, better habits, or sharper focus. It's a reliable framework, a way to triangulate truth in the chaos, to answer three deceptively simple questions. What do I want? That's desire. Where am I really? That's context. What should I do next? That's strategy. This exposition introduces a timeless and cross-cultural pattern, one that reappears in ancient philosophy, modern psychology, and everyday experience. It's not a formula, but a mental compass, and in a noisy world, it might be the clearest way to move forward. Section 2, The Hidden Geometry of Human Alignment. At the core of every meaningful decision lies a silent equation, an internal triangulation that most people perform unconsciously. But when made explicit, this structure reveals a simple yet powerful truth. Meaning arises when desire, context, and strategy are aligned. These are the three coordinates of human agency. Desire is the spark. It's the feeling of I want or I need, whether it's purpose, freedom, belonging, mastery, or survival. But desire on its own is unreliable. Unanchored desire drifts. It latches onto illusions. It gets hijacked by marketing, dopamine loops, or social comparison. Without grounding, desire becomes distraction. Context is the terrain. It's the raw truth of where you are. It includes your environment, constraints, resources, identity, culture, and history. Most people skip this step. They operate on assumptions or mimic others' maps. But a strategy built on false context is like trying to summit a mountain without realizing you're standing in a desert. Context is humbling, but it's also liberating. Because once you know where you are, you stop pretending. Strategy is the path. It's the means, how you get from where you are to where you want to go. It's not just planning, it's aligned action. But strategy without real desire becomes cold, mechanical hustle. And strategy without real context becomes wasted effort. Strategy is the unfolding of clarity. It's not cleverness, it's coherence. The key insight is that no one coordinate is enough. The triangle only holds when all 3 points are present and calibrated. That's what makes this a geometry, not a list. Desire without context becomes fantasy. Strategy without desire becomes burnout. Context without strategy becomes paralysis. When they lock together, however, the result is not just progress, it's satisfaction. Section 3. The pattern across civilizations. This desire-context-strategy triangle isn't a modern invention. It's a recurring structure found across ancient thought systems, spiritual traditions, and cultural blueprints. Civilizations may have used different languages, symbols, or metaphors, but the geometry remains. Wherever humans sought meaning, they triangulated it, knowingly or not. In ancient China, harmony was pursued through balance. Confucianism emphasized ritual and social harmony. Desire was to live virtuously and earn respect. Context was one's role within a structured social hierarchy. Strategy was ethical behavior through prescribed rituals and duties. Taoism offered a different path, alignment with the Tao, the way. Desire was harmony with the natural order. Context was the ever-shifting, paradoxical flow of the universe. Strategy was Wu Wei, effortless action that flows with, not against, reality. Both traditions frame meaning as something that emerges from alignment, not imposition. In ancient India, the Purusharthas represented 4 foundational goals. Dharma, which is righteousness and duty, reflected context. Artha and Kama, wealth and passion, represented desire. Moksha, or liberation, pointed to strategic transcendence. Here, context is not merely situational, it's moral and cosmic. Strategy isn't about worldly maneuvering, but liberation from illusion. Even the desires for wealth or pleasure must operate within dharmic context and ultimately aim toward freedom. Desire must be contextualized within a larger spiritual ecosystem, or it becomes self-defeating. In ancient Greece, reason, virtue, and the good life were central themes. Plato introduced the theory of forms. Abstract, ideal versions of truth, beauty, and justice. Desire was to live in accordance with the good. Context was the physical world as a shadow of ideal reality. Strategy was philosophical inquiry and disciplined reasoning. Aristotle offered a more grounded alternative. Desire was eudaimonia, flourishing or fulfillment. Context was one's role in society and nature. Strategy was phronesis, practical wisdom to act virtuously in real situations. Even reason-bound traditions recognize that strategy is meaningless without context, and that fulfillment requires more than raw ambition. During the Renaissance, the West shifted from God to geometry. Desire became understanding the world through reason and art. Context was a natural world governed by discoverable laws. Strategy involved empiricism, invention, perspective, and design. Leonardo da Vinci sketched not only machines, but man within circles, literally seeking to map meaning through proportion and balance. As context shifted from divine order to natural law, strategy evolved from prayer to experimentation. Across centuries and continents, the same coordinates show up. Desire, what do we seek? Context, where do we stand? Strategy, how do we move? They may wear different clothes, but the triangle never disappears. This content is brought to you by Bobby Giggs. Promote your brand here and reach a wide audience across platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Follow the links in the description to get started. Section 4. The Modern Crisis of Misalignment. If ancient cultures revered the triangle, modern life fractures it. We live in a time where desire is engineered, context is distorted, and strategy is gamified. The result is a society of misaligned actors, burning fuel with no map, chasing meaning in all the wrong places. Desire without context leads to delusion. We're constantly told to follow your passion or manifest your dreams. But what if the dreams aren't yours? What if they've been uploaded by ads, influencers, or algorithms? Uncontextualized desire leads to escapism, entitlement, and fragmentation. Desire without context is like launching a rocket with no coordinates, fast, impressive, and headed nowhere. Strategy without context leads to burnout. In hustle culture, strategy is king. Optimize, scale, hack. But strategy without a real sense of place becomes a treadmill. You can spend decades building a bridge, only to realize it connects two places you never wanted to be. Context without desire leads to apathy. Some modern thinkers pride themselves on being realistic. They see the system clearly, understand the dysfunction, but stop there. Without desire, that realism turns into cynicism, resignation, and inaction. Context without desire is knowing the map but refusing to walk. What's breaking the triangle? First, algorithmic hijacking. Social media rewires desire loops for clicks, not clarity. Second, false contexts. Filter bubbles and echo chambers warp perception. Third, extractive strategies. Systems reward short-term wins over sustainable paths. Fourth, shallow feedback loops. We substitute dopamine for satisfaction. The modern condition isn't a lack of opportunity, it's a lack of alignment. We're noisy, we're busy, but we're off track. Section 5, satisfaction as a compass. In a misaligned world, the search for satisfaction often gets mistaken for the pursuit of comfort, pleasure, or validation. But real satisfaction isn't dopamine, it's alignment. It's what you feel when your desire is authentic, your context is clear, and your strategy fits both. Satisfaction is not the goal. It's the signal that you're walking the right path. When the desire, context, strategy triangle locks into place, you feel it. It's not always euphoric, but it's stable, earned, and centered. You know what you're doing and why. You're grounded in reality, not running from it. Your actions reinforce your identity rather than erode it. Satisfaction is the compass. It keeps you honest. Not all pleasure is satisfaction. Pleasure can be manufactured or faked. Satisfaction must be built. The problem with modern systems is they hijack our need for satisfaction and replace it with quick, hollow feedback. Likes, views, notifications, purchases. But these are synthetic. They tell you you're winning, but not that you're aligned. Even the U.S. Declaration of Independence baked this in: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But happiness, in this sense, was never about comfort. It was about fulfillment, the freedom to live a life in sync with your truth, your place, and your actions. In other words, a life where satisfaction flows from alignment. Section 6. Implications for education, identity, and design. If the desire context strategy framework is a compass for finding meaning, then its power extends far beyond personal reflection. It holds transformative potential for how we educate, design systems, and shape identity in a world increasingly dominated by disorientation. Modern education often overemphasizes strategy, skills, methods, test-taking, while neglecting authentic desire and truthful context. Instead, we should teach students to ask, what do I really care about? That's desire. Where do I come from and where am I now? That's context. How do I act meaningfully, not just efficiently? That's strategy. Imagine a curriculum built not just around facts and functions, but around alignment. A classroom that cultivates agency, not just obedience. Teach someone to memorize a map and they'll follow. Teach them to triangulate and they'll lead. When people don't know their context, culturally, historically, economically, they are easily manipulated. They inherit desires from others and apply strategies that don't fit their reality. Reclaiming truthful context becomes a form of psychological liberation. Especially for marginalized groups, this can be revolutionary. Understanding your cultural inheritance helps clarify your desire. Seeing your historical position reframes your challenges. Recognizing systemic dynamics sharpens your strategy. This isn't about victimhood, it's about precision. Truthful context anchors motivation and unlocks dignity. Institutions and technologies should be designed with the triangle in mind. Social media that doesn't just hijack desire but helps you clarify it. Economic policies that reward strategies aligned with real needs. Mental health systems that treat disconnection at the structural level. Right now, most systems are anti-triangle. They encourage shallow desire, obscure context, and reward exploitative strategy. But we can flip the script. What if your tools asked you, what do you actually want? Where are you starting from? What paths have worked for others in your shoes? That's a system designed for alignment, not addiction. Section 7. Conclusion. Triangulating in the noise. We are not suffering from a lack of intelligence, opportunity, or information. We are suffering from misalignment, being pushed and pulled by manufactured desires, disoriented by false contexts, and trapped in strategies that exhaust rather than fulfill. But beneath the noise lies a timeless structure. Three coordinates that have guided seekers, builders, and thinkers across eras and civilizations. Desire, what moves you. Context, what surrounds you. Strategy, how you move. Together, they form a triangle, not fixed but fluid. A framework that evolves as you evolve. It doesn't give you answers, but it gives you orientation. And in a chaotic world, that might be the rarest and most powerful thing of all. When the triangle locks into place, you don't need validation. You feel it. That quiet satisfaction, not hype, not hustle, just alignment. You don't have to follow every signal. You don't have to chase every opportunity. You just have to triangulate, honestly, humbly, and repeatedly. Because the truth isn't hidden. It's just waiting to be framed correctly. Triangulating truth is more than a concept. It's a tool. Use it when you're lost. Use it when you're stuck. Use it when the world gets too loud. The map is already in you. The triangle shows you how to read it,